everybody loves a good movie. But unfortunately, not all movies tend to age well.
But we're not here to talk about those movies. Today, we're going to talk about 6 movies that have stood the test of time.
Coming in at number 6, The Princess Bride, which came out in 1987.
This held all the classic fairy tale tropes in one family-sized movie.
And there weren't too many cringy special effects, making it one of those movies that were basic, yet still very effective.
And the story was delivered very uniquely because it was the grandfather who was reading to his grandson this book of The Princess Bride instead of the conventional method of just having the story narrated.
There were even some scenes in the movie where it would be like, Grandpa, you've read that line already.
Those are the shrieking eels.
Past that, Grandpa. You read it already.
So it was so realistic.
Number 5, Back to the Future, which came out in 1985.
As we always say, Back to the Future is one of the best time travel trilogy movies of all time. Everything makes sense.
Except for that little thing in the second movie, which we've discussed before in our previous videos.
But other than that, it wasn't too complicated science-wise, and pretty much any age could get it.
Back to the Future is timeless because the movie is portrayed so believable that you actually think you are traveling through time.
So believable, in fact, that actors being reused to play relatives and other characters was just so unique and strangely logical.
I mean, who else to play better as a relative than the actor who looks exactly like the relative? However, one thing that hasn't aged too well with Back to the Future 2 specifically is the 2015 time travel scenario. The risky thing of time travel movies is when it comes to the year that they predict, most of the time it's not that accurate. Even though some things did come true, a lot of it was unbelievable.
You know, I think they actually did, like, you know, those Nike shoes that they tied themselves.
They did that just in time.
And they made Michael J. Fox actually be the first one to try it. It was so good. However, with this multiverse theory that is like all rage nowadays, it could have easily been portrayed that it was like a, what's it called, a multi
alternate timeline.
That's the one. And coming in at number 4, The Sound of Music, 1965.
Please never remake this movie. It is a timeless gem. It is one of the best Julie Andrews movies with beautiful settings and lush greenery that was actually filmed in live locations such as Austria. This is one of the reasons why it is a timeless classic that can never ever be remade.
The music, which was based off the musical, was so beautifully written, and it really captured the essence of what it would have been like to be in Austria during World War II.
And considering it's almost a 3-hour movie, because, you know, stage play is a 3-hour show, none of it felt like it dragged. Every part of it captures the audience.
And alongside all those things, it also captured the essence of love and family and how important it is to stick together even during world crises.
Number 3, the movie that came out in 1964, Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins is once again one of those movies that is truly ahead of its time. With the scenes that are half animated and half live action, even to this day it's so unique we can't help but be like, wow.
This enchanting movie musical masterpiece brings forth so many creative elements, as well as bringing a quite unique wording to light.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Another timeless movie about family and how much we all mean to each other.
Could only best be described as practically perfect in every way. Oh, Hana Heroes, here we come. It's number 2, and it is 1939, The Wizard of Oz.
If anyone has told us you've never seen The Wizard of Oz, you haven't lived.
Go back in time and watch it.
This jaw-dropping, mesmerizing moment when Dorothy walks from her house into the land of Oz that switches from 2 different color schemes is something that is engraved in everybody's heart who watches this.
I don't know what it is, just something so amazing about the color changing from one land to another. It blew my mind as a kid.
For the time, the costumes were spot on. Every detail, you would have thought of it to be animated, yet that was all hand done.
Also the backdrops in the set, like even though you knew it probably was done in a studio, it still looked like you were actually in the land of Oz.
And the amazing jaw-dropping special effects were pulled off even without the animation back in those days. I mean, 1939, that's pretty good.
And even years later, they've left us the same question we can't help but mind-boggling wonder, it is a word, was it real? Or was it just a dream, her going to Oz?
And last but not least, the movie that started it all for animation came out in 1937,
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Hard to believe that in 15 short years, this movie is going to be 100 years old. I don't believe any movie has held that recognition for that long.
How could we forget about Snow White? That's just it. You can't. The fact that this is Disney's first ever full-length motion picture animation movie and that they picked the literature Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it's like he purposely picked that so that way everyone could remember her for years to come. And it is true because this movie was actually like the pioneer of all animation movies, really.
And when we say full-length animated film, it actually is. It's an hour and a half, not like 40 minutes.
And they picked such a strong character for their first Disney film. Snow White is young, yet so inspirational as she cares for others way more than she does for herself.
And being 14, we can easily say she is the oldest, yet youngest, Disney princess. Considering that this was made in 1937, the animation, the colors, the quality of this movie was so ahead of its time. It was a well thought out movie with so many lovable characters, a villain that you absolutely would love to hate, and just a perfect lesson throughout the story. That true beauty comes from the heart, not from what you look like. It's one thing I have to comment on this movie that's been on my mind. If the Queen had the time to make herself look uglier, why on earth could she not have a spell to make herself look younger and prettier?
So that's it. 6 movies that we believe have stood the test of time.
Are there any that we may have missed? Let us know down in the comments. But until then, see you in our next video. Bye!